What's up, Edgar?
Oh, what up?
Happy hump day.
Happy hump day. Look at him to the moon.
Chris.
What's up, Chris?
I like playing that Aerosmith song, Apollo 13.
There you go.
Which one
Morning,
is
guys.
that? What's up, E?
The one what's it called?
The one for that movie with Bruce
Apollo,
Willis.
Apollo 13, right? Or what was it called?
No. The one where the asteroids
It was
coming for the
Armageddon.
Earth.
Armageddon.
Armageddon,
Yes.
Oh, that's funny. Out. The big cheese is out, Chris.
Yeah,
Huh?
I'm just stepping in for right now. He's on a call right now.
Oh, very cool. Oh, look at you and your green juice.
You
Is
got
that
me
a-
into it.
Is that a
Little
toxin
nectar.
flush?
Yes, sir.
Oh man, my favorite. I could use one of those right now. Edgar, your hair is looking mighty tight. You got that fade
Yeah, I went-
tightened up.
I went short. Yeah, I went short now. You know, when the hairline starts going back, you want to kind of. So
The
it's
short-
an illusion.
That's a secret. As you get older, the shorter the hair, the younger you look.
Yeah, dude. So I went size smaller this time.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. What's up, Shane? Congrats to us on our
Yeah, man.
closing.
That was an easy one.
You're amazing, man. That was like Monica tells me over and over again. That was the most painless escrow in quite some time. From
Good.
TCs to, buyers, sellers. My sellers are just head over heels. They're so ecstatic that
Oh, I'm sure,
it's so
man.
smooth. And
Yeah.
thank you for that.
Yeah. No, it was an easy one.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
I got a headache one right now, so that was kind of all right.
Yeah, Monica has a. Well, why don't you share? What did you hear on the leadership call for Keller Williams?
Oh, they have across the board KW International has 25% fallout on escrows right now. That's a quarter of them are falling out and reopening elsewhere.
Everyone hear that? So if you missed out on your buyers, there's 25% chance it's going to or it did fall out of escrow. So keep tabs on that and always check in with the agents. And that also, as a reminder, a friendly reminder, if you don't get the deal accepted, just be your professional self and go out on a high note, because the opportunity might present itself again. And you guys can put that right back into escrow.
Yeah, Dennis isn't here yet, but I think he had 3 last year where he was like the second or third choice.
Yep. So 25%. And I think that's just, it's a lot of different things. I think it's the whole frenzy, right? All of our buyers get caught up in the process and they want to win. They're like me, all of us on this call, all of us are winners and we want to win that. And so we start doing things that are outside of our budget. And then you get it. Now we're high-fiving, and then you go to bed at night and you wake up the next morning and you get that estimate from Chris or your lender, and you're thinking, what the heck, 5,000 a month? What am I thinking? And
Well, with us, we usually send a pre-application worksheet, so they don't really get that surprised. They know what they're getting themselves into, so we try to cover that. So
Yep. So,
I'll tell you that much.
but what they do is they it's not important to them at that time.
Correct.
Because the negotiation, and if you just give them this amount, it's yours. Sign this and it's yours. And we kind of get into that space, and then we sign it. And then, like I said, the dust settles and you wake up and you're like, honey, what did we just do? I don't know. We just inherited $5,000 a month mortgage payment, and they're currently paying $2,800. Something
And
like
collect
that.
some cans monthly.
Yeah. So those that just jumped on, we were just talking about KW International had their call on Tuesday, and 25% of escrows are falling out. 25%. So keep tabs on those and follow up with the agents, check in to see if they submitted their EMD. Is it okay if I check in with you 5 days from now? Just keep playing that game and keep your clients motivated. You know, you never know. It's a good line to share. So how about wins? Or Raul, how can I put you on the spot? I know you just launched your new listing this past weekend.
Yeah. You know what? It's we were a little aggressive on list price. Originally, I was going to go $1,049,000, but we went 100 grand, a little higher. Higher after speaking to Tatiana, who I'm not sure if she ever reached out to you, but she had a listing around the corner and smaller house, no pool. She said she ended up getting like 975. So I thought, all right, we might be able to squeeze out a little more. So we did have about 30 different parties come to the open house. The next day, we did get an offer from investor. He's doing a 1031 exchange. The property's technically a single family, but it can be split up into two. So that's what he really liked. But I wanted that that buyer's agent to confirm with his lender to make sure that they can purchase a single family home, not multi-units, and also the solar that's on it. Which right now it's looking a little tight. The offer came in at 1.2, so they did come in 50 grand over. But the financing looks a little tight. But this morning, now I feel like it's back to a few years ago. I'm starting to get creative. How can we make this work? Will the lender accept that maybe the seller pays for the next 2 years of the solar, which will only be about $5,000, or maybe 3 years, and we go up to $7,500. But I'm not sure if that flies with the lender. Do we look at buying out the lease? It's probably going to be about $35,000, still puts them over list price. So now I'm throwing those ideas around. There's another party that's interested. They don't have an agent, but we're working on their financing right now. And their concern is we don't want to get into a bidding war. So I let them know that we did have one offer, but their financing looks like it may not go through. And just playing with the emotional side of it, the seller is very sentimental about the property. They knew his uncle, so maybe it'll work out with them. So it hasn't been crazy. Haven't gotten a lot of calls. It's been like a showing a day after the open house. But, you know, we do have one offer, which is lukewarm right now. And we have this interested party. So it will sell, but it doesn't seem like it's crazy frenzy.
When you switched gears last minute to go from $1,050,000 to 150, was that because of your seller's influence, or was that just based on Katiana's conversation with you and you kind of thought, you know what, maybe we could bump it up a little bit?
It was based on Katiana.
Yeah. And in hindsight, would you go back to the game plan A?
You know what? I did talk to the sellers about it, and they're, again, the seller's very emotional about it, sentimental. Like even when we got the 1.2 Sunday night, he said, let me think about it. And I'm thinking, think about what? Like you got 1.2, you inherited this property. But when I spoke to his wife the next morning, she's like, you know, it's finally hitting him. Like, man, this is real. I'm selling my uncle's house, who his uncle passed away. So to answer your question, I probably would list a little lower, because I think sellers' expectations are to get multiple offers. And their text the day after the open house, they said, do we have multiple offers? Is it up to 2 million yet? Kind of like as a joke.
Wow.
So I made the mistake of not setting the expectation of when I said, hey, I think we can squeeze out another 100 grand. I think the market will call for it, but I should have given them the expectation that it's going to take that one special buyer. You will net extra money, but it may not be a frenzy. And, you know, and I think the value on this property, which I spoke to you briefly about another listing, is it really, the value there is I think there's a lot of value as a potential investment property. So knowing that it's listed as a single family would, you know, the idea of like, do I put it on the MLS as multi-units, even though legally it's single family, but there's a full-on kitchen upstairs. The house could be divided, could have its own entrance, and wait to see if I get a slap on the wrist for you know, hey, this isn't multi-units, but at least it gets shot out to people looking for investment properties.
Hmm. Would you put it on the MLS as a multifamily, or just keep it as an SFR and just in notes share the value out of two separate entries?
Yeah, you know what? Right now, that's how I have it.
Mm.
But I was thinking of doing a second input as multi-units, because here's the reality of it, right? Like most of us are using systems like Real Scout, where when it goes out to the client, sometimes we're not even seeing the notes, the agent notes. So a lot of agents might miss that. They might have a buyer that's looking for units, but they're just looking under multi-units on the MLS, not under single family, to see these other potentials. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I know we've done that in the past. We used to do that all the time. It does seem like the MLS is a little bit more stringent, tighter now. But anyone have any feedback or any thoughts on that if you're in Raul's shoes to maximize that opportunity?
We've listed in both as residential and as residential income, the same property at the same time, to maximize the number of eyes, because property has potential for single family or for multi. We've never gotten in trouble for it. You just have to make sure that once you open escrow with one, let the broker know to cancel the other.
Okay.
But we've never received any notifications for it.
Okay.
Chris,
Perfect. No, that's good
Chris,
to know.
would that hurt financing? Like if the consumer said, the buyer, the end user says, you know, I'm going to rent one out. I'm going to live in one, and I'm going to market rent would suggest 3,500 for the bottom unit. I'm just going to squat in the small unit upstairs. Could you, knowing though it's an SFR, could you use that?
Well, it just
qualify?
profile comes in. If it's a SFR, then they're going to treat it as a SFR. Okay. So we wouldn't be able to get rents. The only way we can get rents would be the boarding one, but it would be through Home Ready. That's the only way. But then you have income limits too. So then you might, the client might not fall into that.
Gotcha. Okay. You know, obviously hindsight's 50-50, and you know, that's the thought. Like I just went on the listing appointment yesterday morning, and they asked me that, should we list it? If you really believe, Scott, we could get $1 million, should we just list it at $1 million? I said no. And I said, and here's why, because if you look at this one, they priced it at $950. Yes, they have 2 offers, which is great. But had they listed it at, say, $879, what I'm suggesting, we would have had 10, 12, 15 perhaps more offers, because the price is so low that it just becomes that frenzy where everyone sees the line out the door, that opening weekend open house, which then gives them that momentum to start driving the price right back up. And then then we can control the terms.
Here's another thing too, Scott, that offer that came in at 1.2. So it is an investor. They're selling another property and they're doing a 1031 exchange. But the agent at the open house said, would you represent my buyer and just give me a referral fee? I really want him to get this. So he was being very, very aggressive. Ultimately, I told him, I said, hey, just submit your offer. Like, I don't want to take your commission. You've worked hard with your client. But he submitted his offer with taking 1%.
Wow.
So he changed he sent the cooperating broker form, and he agreed to take 1%. So he was very aggressive about it. So, you know, I guess with multi-units, he's feeling like, man, it's hard for his client to get a property. And since he's doing a 1031 exchange, he's got that timeline.
Right. What do you know what the sale of that investment property is that they put in escrow? I'm just curious.
You know what he's selling? He sent me the info. I think it's like a single family home, 650. He owns it free and clear. So he's taking some money out.
Yeah.
Well, he's taking quite a bit.
Got it.
Yep.
Well, congrats. I mean, 1, 2, if anyone can figure it out, I know it's you know.
Yeah, we'll figure something out with the lease, or like I said, leverage the current situation with that other family that's interested. And just once they heard of the other offer, they're like, oh, we're not going to get into a bidding war. So now I'm buying a little time saying, hey, we're trying to figure something out with them. But I did a little bit of a takeaway. I said, I don't want to keep bugging you. If it's something that's not going to work for you, I'll focus my full energy on working something out with this 1031 exchange buyer. But if you're interested, let me know. And they came back this morning and said, hey, yeah, it sounds like we might be able to get into a situation that won't involve a bidding war. We're very interested. Shoot me a lender's information.
Interesting in this market though, that it's a tough rule to say, I don't want to get into a bidding war, knowing that the market, there's no inventory, and yet there's only
Right.
another offer that you're working with, and yet they don't want to potentially proceed. My suspect is then I start thinking like, well, what's wrong? What's wrong with your clients?
Well, I think with them, they're not being represented, so I would be their representation. But I think with them, I found out a little history. They were looking for a home last year, and I think they experienced, because last summer was crazy. We all know that. So I think they experienced that and got beat up so much that they don't want to jump back in and keep get beat up. So I think that's their hesitation. But the property, I mean, when you go see it, if you go see it, I mean, it's very unique. There's a lot of potential there. It used to be Airbnb before, the upstairs part. They really liked it. But they just said, well, we're not going to get into a crazy bidding war. So we'll see. I think it's going to get the 1.15. It should, but we'll see if we can maximize it at the 1.2 or work something out with the solar panels.
Yeah, got it. So solar panels. Oof.
Yeah.
Is that the biggest thing, the solar panels for you in that situation? Forgive me if I
Well,
the whole story.
with the 1031 exchange, so that's another agent that's representing that buyer, but he sent me over his approval, and the approval showed multifamily. When I asked him to check with his lender to make sure that he can buy a SFR, he just squeaked by. The back end ratio was, I think, 49%. So I said, hey, contact the lender. It's $200 a month for the solar lease. And he said, yeah, that puts the DTIs a little high.
Can the seller buy out the contract?
Exactly. That's where I'm gonna get creative with it. My first shot, and maybe you can answer this question. My first thought was, instead of the seller having to pay $38,000 to buy out the lease, what if the seller agrees to pay for the first 2 years or 3 years?
I think
Because
it's
that'll
a case
save
by
them
case on the lender. I think it's case by case on the lender, to be honest with you. I'll check with mines, with corporate, but I'll get back to you. I can't give you a concrete answer on that.
Yeah, no, that's no problem. I'm going to work that out with the agent when I'm talking to him later today to see what.
Got it.
What
Because I was just
creative way
thinking
we can
maybe
get.
the seller comes in with that difference and gets, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Higher on
and
the
that'll be
purchase price, right? So
exactly. Yeah, so that's where we'll get creative and figure something out if that buyer really wants it.
Yeah,
correct.
we've done that on HOA dues because some
Yep.
of those high rises in downtown are costly, and so we've done like 6 months, year. That when the market shifts, might see more of that happening. Well, cool, man. Keep us posted on that. Any other listings coming out there for anyone else? Hard to come by. How about buyers? Shane, you keeping your streak alive? You ratify any new? I think I saw it in Slack. I think you put 2 in, in the last 7 days.
Yeah. I got those 2, and now my pipeline is like back down to nothing. And one of these we're trying to figure out on the lens side, because the guy's retiring. He wants to finance. He has a ton of funds. He can pay cash for it. He doesn't want to. So we're trying to see if his HR department can write a letter saying like he can work remotely. But if that doesn't work out, then he's going to have to go cash, which he might not be happy about. But I think we'll still go through with it. I mean, I don't have anybody to write. I got 2 kind of like warm leads, I guess. So my pipeline, I have a couple in, but I'm just waiting on my Zillow stuff to pick up, man. I got a few follow-ups I need to do today. I had a couple of showings with a couple of new people, but I don't really count them into my pipeline unless, we kind of get that like rapport going with each other and understanding.
Yeah.
So hopefully I'll be adding a couple more soon, and then, back to playing the games of, of getting those offers in, man. It's actually it was one of those situations where we put it in, there was a multi-counter 3 other people were above us. They were at their max, so they stayed where they were. But the others didn't work out. But something happened with the lending already, because the listing agent talked to each lender. So the ones ahead of us had issues, and it's funny because I told them, I was like, you know what, don't give up on this one yet, because one of them there's one in Wilmington I closed on yesterday. It was kind of the same situation, right, that you were talking about earlier, where they were in escrow, fell out, reached out to us, boom, we got in. So this one, I was like, you know what, like, don't write it off all the way yet. And it was still fresh in my mind, like, look, this just happened to me. Maybe it can happen again. And it did. So, I mean, we got in on it, and it's at their max, and they're stoked. You know, we got our inspection done already. Appraisal's going to be done. And we actually didn't even need to waive our appraisal. So, because we stuck with our original offer, which they're super excited about.
Right. Because now the second time around, the sellers are thinking like, okay, let's not scare him away.
Yeah. He took it straight out, because even on the counters he sent out, they had to waiver and, you know, highest and best, whatever. I told him, well, look, we're stuck where we're at. So it's cool. Yeah, they're happy, because they were nervous about waiving that, because they don't have a bunch of funds behind them. You know, they really didn't want to, as much as I could explain to him about appreciation, and, you know, if you do have to put in a little shortfall, it'll come back to you quickly, this and that. He still just wasn't like, so now I don't want to do that at all. I'm like, all right, it's cool. Look, we have it there, right? If it comes back, I'll bring it to them and we'll deal with it. Like, you're not going to have to do it if you guys want it. So
Just curious on that. Can I ask, what was the list price and how much higher did you have to go even the second time around?
this one was $699. We're in at $735.
Okay. So 35,000 over.
Yeah. And that's they had ones that were in and people were coming at $750. But I said the financing, when he talked to lenders, he was just like, I don't know, man, they just didn't seem like they were on it. Like, he just had a feeling like they didn't trust mine, so I didn't hit up my lender, and he was all cool. Yeah, let's get it going.
Tells them what they want to hear. Yep.
Yeah. But I mean, everything's been over. The other one, on Ocean I have, it was listed at $639. We're in at $665. And this guy actually got his, Fannie, whatever, waived his inspection or his appraisal altogether. So he's golden as long as we get his remote work situated, or just, you know, put in the cash. You know, he said he has a couple million, but he's trying to use it for retirement, and I'm trying to explain to him.
Yep.
You know, so we're being kind of sensitive with him, but just hoping it works out. I think it will.
Very cool.
Hey Shane, do most of your leads, do you get them over to your lender, or do you usually just go off of whatever they're working with at the time?
I do both. If I kind of read them out, you know, I always like try to suggest my guys, because it always makes something smoother. But if they're already adamant about like someone they have and they come pre-approved or whatever, then I'm like, cool, let it go, and I'll call them and talk to them and get a feel out on them, and then give them the same kind of heads up, like, you know, find out what they're able to do, right? Because I know some are trying to get quicker timelines. They're really not able to, which kind of hurts. Like, so both of these that I have open, one we did a 20-day close and one we did a 17-day close. So I'm pushing, you know, I'm just trying to mess with numbers. Like,
with their lenders or with your lender?
These are both with mine. These are both with mine, because I know my guy can do it, because we closed one in like 14 or 17 days. And so I think that's like helping us out too, getting into these situations is really just like, you know, shorting this stuff up. And then like worst case scenario, you know, if it's 17 days in and you can't close, like, you're not going to cancel.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's playing the game, but I haven't had to really do anything like that, you know, because we've been hitting on all cylinders. But you know, I try to explain to my buyers like this, the point right now is to get into escrow, you know, so let's get in, and then really once it's in it, then we'll worry about kind of things popping up through it. And it's always, you know, just trying to protect them.
Yeah.
You know, I might end up pissing off some like listing agents from time to time, but like, I'm looking for my buyers, you know.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite lines is, you know, let's just put it in writing. Let's just see how it looks.
Yeah.
Then if we're fortunate, we get it accepted, then we got 21 days unless they counter us back to 12, 14, or 15 days to do our due diligence. And if you wake up in a cold sweat, just let me know the next morning. We'll cancel escrow, I'll get your deposit back.
Yeah,
But once they accept another person's offer, there's absolutely zero I can do.
yeah, it's a good way to put it.
So let's just put it in writing, see how it looks and move forward. But I know Amy can talk firsthand. I mean, she just went through a wild deal with her working with a lender from Irvine. No return calls, no communication, got a notice to perform. Seller was threatening lawsuit, still wasn't returning Amy's calls. And gratefully though, she crossed the finish line. She funded on Monday and recorded yesterday. And now she just knows like the importance of having your lender in your back pocket, because like you said, Shane, that takes away half of the battle. Your job became that much easier because obviously your lenders aren't going to approve them if they can't do it. So I don't know, Amy might be tied up at this point, but any other scenarios, any other wins or challenges, fallouts? Anyone else seeing any fallouts happen?
I had a fallout this week where I got a client accept on a townhouse, like kind of, I guess, just like Hollywood, East Hollywood area. And it was over 1.2 million. So I was really excited. And then they drove in the area at night and were just like, you know what, there's just too many tents, and they didn't in the area at night, which I kind of pushed them to put in their offer because I got the listing agent to commit that if we put the offer in, they wouldn't do the open house the next weekend.
Wow, good job.
Yeah, so I was like really pushed it, but there's some things that I can't change.
Yeah.
Still hurt.
No, I know. So what does it seem like? Is it just lack of inventory? Because I know you guys all have clients, and obviously, you guys are all big producers on this call. So to see it quiet, it's obviously a lead indicator, right? That it's a tough market out there. So I'm just wondering, what are we doing?
And the investors, it's hard because like the same situation, everything is renter occupied. So it's like my investor clients to get into duplexes can't because, there's just no way to evict the tenants.
I saw in the MLS the other day, the agent note said you can't walk the property, you can't tour it, you're buying it as is, and there were actual squatters inside the house, and we're fully disclosing it, and you're inheriting these squatters, and it's your responsibility to evict and get them out. No inspections, no nothing. And I didn't check whether or not if it was at market value. It looked like it would deem to be under market value to try to entice people to come join the party. But that's obviously a variable that you don't have control over. That could be a long process and thousands and thousands of dollars later to try to get them out.
Right.
Which is crazy. So it just shows you like there are investors who have properties who can't get income, can't get them out, and they're in the red every month.
And this is basically going to go on until at least 2023.
Yeah. Well, we were talking yesterday, those that are working with a lot of buyers, and how long it's generally taking them to understand the rules of the game in today's market. And, it could be 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, or 6 months. And we were talking about like how to set the expectation, which I believe Shane's pretty good at because he's been very successful working buyers in this market, which is very tough to do. And I heard this, which I shared yesterday on our team meeting, Kata Group, was, depending on where they are in the process of buying a home, the analogy they used is you could either, how soon did you want to be in the house? Meaning you can go with your own thoughts and write the offer where you believe you want to write it in at, which you're going to fail forward, and perhaps it's going to take months or 3 or 4 attempts to go at it. Or we can accelerate the whole process by, I will tell you exactly what we need to do to be successful in this market. And if you follow my lead, then over the 3 to 4 months, as my last client, I'm going to use Amy's scenario, Ruth, who took 4 months to acquire a house. Ruth was approved for $550, but she wanted to stay at $500. By the time Ruth closed escrow, she ended up paying, hypothetically, say $575. Had Ruth followed Amy's lead straight out of the gates, she would have closed escrow possibly around $500,000, and instead of paying $75,000 more, she would have had $75,000 in equity. And so that target keeps moving, and the longer it takes to build that rapport and that trust with our clients, the values of the home are appreciating. And some, actually, Ruth fortunately was still able to pivot and keep going up with the market, but it took her way out of budget. Some buyers can't even, they just get pushed out of the market, period. So again, it's that storytelling of all of your experiences, or leveraging a story that you hear on these calls from your colleagues to explain this to your clients, to get them off the fence, or to get them to do what they need to do to be successful. And obviously the choice is theirs. And that's all we're doing, is saying, here's story A and here's what story B looks like. Which one do you want to go down? Choose your own adventure. Well, my uncle said that's bullshit. I should never pay $75,000. Okay, no worries. Let's just take a stab. You want to come in at 530? Let's write it up. They go through the negotiations. We don't get it. The home closes 30 days later. I bring it back to them. I say, yeah, here's the closing price. We were in at 530. It closed at 580. Lesson learned. The next one. And we do this, 2 or 3 different times, or before they come to their senses and decide, you know what, Shane, I'm going to follow your lead. Tell me what I need to do to be successful.
You know what, Scott, can I add something to that?
Yeah.
Like you said, about the price targets keeping moving, or an uncle saying, oh, don't pay 75 grand over asking. So one of the expectations that I set up with buyers, because I feel like we all learn with stories. So I remember 2.5 years ago or so, I still have this buyer. He's looking for a particular property, but about 2 years ago, he had an opportunity to buy a house in San Pedro. It was listed at 625. And agent and I hit it off. Agent said, hey, there's multiple offers, but if you come in at 638, I think it was, she's like, it's yours. And actually, I think it was listed around 619. But anyway, this younger buyer said, hey, I talked to my dad, and my dad thinks it's crazy to go that much over asking. So he lost out on it. Now he's looking at houses at 8.25. So I always think back to 2 years ago. He could have had this house mid 6s, probably low 8s right now. But the expectation that I now set with buyers is I tell them that story, and then I say, don't focus too much on list price. List price is irrelevant. People can list it for $1 and it'll still sell for $850 if that's what the market's asking, right? So I let buyers know that a lot of agents have the strategy of listing low for a couple of reasons: create a bidding war, and 2, for their marketing, because they can go and now knock the neighborhood and say, hey, I sold this house 100 grand over asking. So that asking number, don't pay attention to that. Let's learn the market, know what the value is, and eliminate that thought of, whoa, that's 75 over asking, because that makes it feel like you're overpaying. So I let them know, don't focus on asking price, focus on the value that area is going for.
That's a great point. Yep. Because the uncle never went on the other 10 showings that you showed his nephew.
No, and the uncle could have bought a house 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And the market's different.
That's a great point.
Yeah. So I set that expectation. Don't focus on list price, because if that house is listed, or condo, whatever, is listed at 700 and goes for 775, you're going to think that, wow, it went 75 over asking. But if that same house was listed at 800 and went for 775, still the same sales price, but mentally it just gives you a different psychological feel to it.
Yeah. Yep.
So
I mean, that's the house Shane and I just closed together. You know, my clients bought that 2 years ago for 650. Isn't that crazy? And we just closed on it shy of $1 million. Insane. It's insane. You know what's interesting too? I was just gonna, as Raul was just sharing that story, and I think it was Dennis or someone on this call. We were talking the other day about when you're so good, like Stacey's so good at negotiating with this listing agent, and said, if I can get you, tell me what is the seller, what would make the seller accept our offer to cancel that open house this weekend? That's very tough to do because the market's so unpredictable. You know, I never thought that, you know, again, the house Shane and I just went 100,000 over list price would ever happen. But so the fact that Stacey got them to do that says a lot about her skill set. And sometimes if there isn't enough rapport built with your clients, they almost look at it as though you're in cahoots with the agent. And sometimes they look at it like, well, you told me to do this, 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 and this. And you're basically saying, yeah, well, that's the rules to this game right here. If you want to win it, this is what you have to do. This is based on what they're telling me. It's interesting to see, though, that sometimes your clients, if the rapport isn't established, they look at that as though you don't have their best interest in mind. And I've actually had that backfire where I thought, I never looked at it from that perspective. And I said, well, how would I'm just saying, if you want this house, this is what they want. And if you do this, I have a verbal commitment. They will sign it and you will open escrow today. And yet they still have that little voice saying, is that really the best interest that for me, or is that for you? And I said, look, you could, again, now we're back down to square one again. Well, look, I'm not telling you what to do. You're the boss. You're buying the house. You can tell me what you want to do. And then we can just put our cards on the table and we'll just fall into the mix with the other 40 offers. It's up to you. It's however you want to play this. I'm just letting you know, based on experience, here's how you're going to be successful. And then it always goes back to the stories again, and then using different analogies.
I also just kind of let them know, like, look, we can do this and move forward, but we still have 3 more days for you to put in your earnest money deposit. And then we have another 7 days for the inspection. So I just let them, like I'm saying, there's no pressure. And I let them know this is just strategy.
Right. Which is great, because once they accept another one, we all know they kind of go, oh, can we still go back in? Can we now do this? And it's like, no, the window was closing like this. I was trying to, without actually pushing you, because I sense every time I started to push, you started to back up, right? So it's that fine line, and it's that dance of back and forth and back and forth. And that's why I just like to say, do you want me to be brutally honest with you? Do you want me to tell you what you need to hear? Or do you want me to tell you what you want to hear? Because I'll tell you exactly what you need to do. And I honestly just did this with my client who lost out on prospect. I said, whatever that, and again, I love what Danny's last line was, she shared 3 weeks ago, whatever price you offer that you're comfortable losing out on, that's what you offer. And I shared that with my client, and I said, you know, based on my experience over the last 3 offers, either as a listing agent or as a buyer's agent, I am dumbfounded at what the accepted offer was. So whatever you think is crazy, that's the winning bid. And I thought at a $2 million listing, I thought 2.325 was crazy because it was really valued at 2 million. It wasn't crazy enough. Someone went 2.4. That's crazy. And that's where the market kind of is right now. It takes, you know, guts to really throw that out there. But truthfully, those are what the winning offers are. Edgar had one at 815. I mean, doing due diligence, you know, the buyer, but they made that. I mean, that was 50,000 over where everyone else was, right? That's crazy. How is that? Is everything working out okay on that?
Yeah, CD went out today, or no, CD went out yesterday, and so we're right on schedule. We should be closing maybe by Tuesday next week.
That's awesome. And hearing that story, yeah, congrats. In hearing that story, Dennis is trying to get a listing just around the corner. And Dennis can leverage
Out of my
Edgar's-
farm, Dennis.
he can leverage Edgar's listing and say, hey, look,
Not that close.
I don't know if you know this, but a colleague of mine just launched a house around the block. And he had 300 people come through his house and he had 53 offers. And of the 53, only 5 of them were FHA. That means there were 48 offers with 10, 15, 20, 30, 40% down. He won't tell me where it's going to close at yet because it's not officially closed, but he gave me a ballpark range and it's somewhere north of 750, but under 775. Where did you bring the value in on your first attempt, Dennis?
For 679,
679. And what did he tell you he wanted for it?
750.
750. So when Dennis got swing number 2 at the bat, he said, you know what? I know when we first met, you wanted 750. Now Dennis didn't know because what was showing on title wasn't recorded yet because the permits they did permit it, but the county assessors never officially recorded it. So it didn't reflect the full 4 bedrooms. So Dennis went into this appointment thinking it was a 3-bedroom, in fairness to him. So when he got the second appointment, he said, now that I know it's 4-bedroom, I think 730 is where value is, but I think it can bid up to 750. And they're like, oh, okay, well, I really want 750. And then when we heard Edgar's story, Dennis called him right back and said, hey, 2 days later, here's what's happening in the market. And a home that's smaller than yours will close somewhere between 750 and 775. So your goal of 750 is very doable. When can we get together and get this off the ground? And Dennis's work. Did you set the appointment tomorrow at Thursday? No.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Oh, you got it? It's confirmed?
No, I'm waiting for her to confirm, but she told us that would work. So just
Okay.
getting the confirmation.
So again, these conversations and leveraging this knowledge, this is storytelling. And that's how we're going to continually get these opportunities and get people to gravitate towards you, is because you have the experience. When I see all these agents going out and doing these TikToks, right? And they're saying, here's what 550 or 750 gets you in Norwalk, or here's what Bellflower starts out at 6.25. And they do all these things. I bet you they have so much knowledge. So when they meet with a buyer who's looking in these neighborhoods, they've already seen a lot of the inventory because they're scouring the MLS. They're picking out vacant homes. They're going to prospect for their clients, and all they're doing is shooting videos, but they get to see, like, they're seeing 3 to 5 homes a day times 5 a week. That's 25 homes. They are just name dropping homes and saying, oh, you want to see that one? Oh, you know what? I was actually in that one showing another client. All they were doing was shooting video, but they can use those stories to their advantage. And all it does is solidify you as the real estate expert. And again, they just start trusting you straight out of the gates because you know the inventory, you can name drop things. So as you work your own neighborhood, your own farm, Stacey's the downtown expert in downtown LA. When she can name drop, this was my spiel on Ocean Boulevard. When I can tell them that building, they don't have studios. HOA start at 775. For a 1-bedroom, you only get 1 parking space. It is a community laundry. They don't have in-house, and you can, that one doesn't have a security guard, that one, it's a pet limit. You can only carry them through 850 the Pacific. So if you can't carry your dog through the common space, then the HOA will negate that. When you can name drop all of those things and you become the expert, the credibility just goes through the roof, and they're just looking at you like a deer in headlights, like, tell me, what do I need to do? The more we practice our listing presentation, it's the exact same thing. I was on a listing presentation yesterday. The CMA just went out the window. We didn't even get into it. because they started to fire off questions about, should we do this? How do we do that? What do you suggest? Do we price it up here? Or should we come down low? And I said, oh, that's a great question. Well, on this data that I showed you, if we price it at 950, they only have one offer and it's been on the market only 5 days. But if you look at the past 8 sales that I've brought, those are selling in 7 days. And they sold for 8% higher than list price. So when you ask me that, my recommendation, we're kind of putting the cart before the horse, I would list it at 889 because the market's going to drive it all the way up to, I believe it's going to close at about 975, possibly $1 million. There's no way. You're crazy. I'm going to say, no, see, here's the data. It shows it right here. This house listed at 879 and they got 989. And I start showing them, but they don't even give a shit about this report because I'm just pointing at it. But because you're building rapport and you're just there and you're the expert and you have answers to their questions, they just gravitate towards you and they keep asking more and more. And if I don't know the answer, I'd say, that's a great question. I'm not sure. I'll have to get with title and check on that. And then when they say things like, their aunt, like I was meeting with 4 people yesterday, 3 sisters and their aunt, and I'm looking all over the place, they're all asking me questions. And then the aunt says, oh, well, I've been here since 1940 something. And, they all thought it was a 3-bedroom. And the aunt goes, no, it's a 4-bedroom. And I said, well, I pull out my title report and I said, yeah, no, your auntie's right. It's a 4-bedroom right here. And they go, oh, it is? And she goes, yeah, I took the closet. And the daughters go, well, there's no closet. And the aunt goes, oh, I converted that into the pantry. And then I go, yeah, she's right. It is 4 bedrooms. It's right here. This is what the county assessor says. This is what's recorded on title. It's 4-bed, 3-bath. And they go, oh, wow. So does that increase our value? We thought it would be 3-bedroom and we called it a study. It has a door, it has a window. You could just put a makeshift IKEA closet. That's technically a legal bedroom. Anyhow. Any topics that we can help out with? Any scenarios, technology? How's motivation, inspired, still working it? I know it's tough out there and I think it's going to get tougher.
I guess I could share one of the Circle Flex leads that was given to me last month. She just came back and we have a consultation scheduled.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. So she's working with Alex as well, but we've got a Zoom later this afternoon and just kind of circling back. So hopefully the numbers line up and we can start the search.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. And
I'll share.
Yeah.
I meet at the local coffee shop every Wednesday, and today I had my first meeting with a potential seller here at the coffee shop. He lives out of state. I've been following up with him for months. He's a tired landlord. The tenants haven't been paying through the pandemic. Finally got a court date, so the light is at the end of the tunnel, and he's ready. He's ready to move his money to where he lives in Florida. So I happened to be driving by and I saw him out there. So then I called him and I said, a birdie told me you're in town. And we just hit it off. And I told him I was going to be here. He didn't confirm and he showed up, met me here, and we had an hour meeting. That's why I was a little late, but he showed up and verbal commitment. He just needs to get this tenant out. They asked for 20,000. He's prepared to give them 5. So they're at that process now to get the people out.
Got it.
But yeah, I've probably been talking to this guy for 7 months.
Okay. And how did you come up? You were just circle prospecting absentee owners?
Yes. So this was from circle prospecting my particular neighborhood. And he said he had plans to sell. And then I've just been touching base ever since.
Very cool. And when he met,
but because the tenants are there, it just made it really difficult. They weren't leaving. They didn't have any plans to leave. So just a lot of uncertainty. So I try to market it like off market, but I couldn't get a buyer that was prepared to take over that headache. So nothing came of it. And I just been touching base, giving him updates for what's happening in California since he lives in Florida.
Yeah.
Just staying in touch that way.
Did you do the full Monty? Did you have a CMA prepared for him?
No,
Or
because I
no?
wasn't sure. He didn't tell me he was coming. He didn't even respond to the message. I just told him I was going to be here.
Yeah.
After I talked to him on the phone and texted him, he didn't respond, and he showed up to see me. But I'm going to email him one now.
Right. In addition to Circle Prospecting, is he part of your farm too? Has he been receiving your last 3 postcards? I know you're on month 4 for your drops. Did he get the first 3 also?
I don't think so, to be honest. I don't think he fit into the box for
Yep.
my 150 contacts. But I'm not sure, to be honest. That is a good question.
Very good. Well, just so everyone knows, Dennis just started farming 3 months ago. I mean, he's been calling the neighborhood for a long time, but just actually putting print material out there to a hand. How many people are you hitting up? 200?
My postcards go to 156 people.
156, yeah. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Okay. Well, I don't want to drag it out. If no one has any additional questions or things, whether it's tech or anything, just a couple announcements. Goldie took the liberty and just created. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, Scott, I was going to ask you guys before we finish, or anybody on the call, or if you know of anybody, do you have any commercial real estate agent referrals? I have a past client who is looking to sublease a commercial spot in Gardena. So I'm too busy to even try and take on that right now.
Cesar Gonzalez, we refer commercial to. It just depends what it is, but that I think that might be up Cesar's alley. I'll send you his contact information.
Sweet, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Scott, are you guys
yeah.
doing another class on Friday as well for the second class from last week's?
Yes, we are. So 10 o'clock, we're just going to go over and Hugo, he's probably on the call right now. He's just going to go over what a direct connect looks like. And then how to navigate around and find the different ponds that we discussed, the priority ponds, the cold ponds, the direct connect ponds, and how you can go in there, look at the deals, look at the history of the client, and then choose if that's something you want to call and take and pull it into your account. So yes, now we're going to just kind of get into the nitty gritty and the how-to part of, and then we're going to launch it.
Perfect.
And that'll be Friday at 10 o'clock. And we'll just take about 45 minutes to 55 minutes of your time.
Cool.
And then we plan, look, we're averaging around 14 leads on the weekends, anywhere from 12 to 14 leads on the weekends, where we want to connect them directly with you guys. So if you're already a Zillow player or an internet user and you know how direct connects work, it's no different. And in addition to that, a lot of email leads will be coming in too, where AI will also highlight the conversation and say, hey, here's a hot one. And those are going to go into those ponds, those buckets where you guys can go in and just grab them. And as long as we call them like you do with your own internet leads, it's no different. Same thing. And then Nika did create RERM disclosures for all of you that we have headshots and your contact information for. So they're in Slack under the RERM channel. So you can download those and pull them over to your hard drive so you can share those with your clients. I did my first presentation yesterday and I did put the expense on the listing. I went over it just like the TC fee. I just say my broker requires us to have a third party transaction coordinator. She's going to cross our T's, dot our I's, hold us accountable to what we all agree to when we open escrow. What's nice is at the end of the close of escrow, you'll get everything on a Dropbox link, so you don't have to worry about saving all of these documents. However, if there's some reason you're unsatisfied with her services, Sarah's services, I'll gladly pick up that tab for you. Would that be okay? Yes, terrific. Then I go, we have one more. It's a risk management fee. I do the same spiel. My broker requires this. If for some reason you're unsatisfied with the service, which I don't think you will be because you're protected for the term that you own this house or until you sell the house, I'll gladly pick up that tab for you. Would that be okay? Sure, no worries. So RERM. Hugo, I mentioned Friday, Juliet asked, so I just covered that. The how-to aspects of Circle Flex on Friday at 10. Monica, am I missing anything? Is there anything else that we wanted to rattle off or share?
Team meeting next Tuesday.
Yep. Okay. All right. Well, terrific. Stay focused, stay inspired. I know it's tough out there. And this is where we got to help each other stay accountable and dig deep, man, because I really believe there's going to be a lot of fallout. You know, there's not a whole lot of activity in this group, which tells me, just think if you got into the business within the last couple of years, they're really struggling. This is the market that's going to separate good from great. And the only way we're going to stay great is by staying in the game. I know you're working hard. You got to work 3 times harder than you're working right now. Just saying it flat out. If you're tired and you're exhausted, you better dig deep and you better grind it out even harder. Because this is what's going to separate us. And then when the fallout occurs, this is where we take our fair share back. There's not going to be that much competition. They're going to go get jobs. It's going to happen. So, all right. Double down. All right. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for the participation. Thanks for everyone sharing their story. Obviously, the more people we get and the more stories we have, be vulnerable. It's a safe environment. Share because we all want to see each other win. And we're
can
here
I,
to support you.
Scott?
Yeah.
We have a family friend that just got into real estate, and her team is gonna have has a listing coming up, but she wants to try to get it off market first. It's in 90044 in LA. If anybody has a buyer, it's 2-bed, 2-bath. I have posted in Slack in the off market tab, but nobody responded. So if anybody has a buyer, I can connect you with her.
Do you have a price on that?
It's $650, 2-bed, 2-bath, and it's completely remodeled.
And it's off market.
Well, right now, but they're gonna, once it's completely
Let's move
finished,
you in
they're
there,
gonna put it
Chris.
on market. But she's trying to.
Okay. 90004, you said.
90044.
44.
So-
Got it. Okay.
I have the deeds if anybody wants it. I have a video of it during construction. So we don't have any buyers for that area, but if anybody does,
Okay.
I'd be happy to throw them the love.
Appreciate you sharing that. And again, guys, that's in the
Alrighty.
Slack coming soon or off market opportunities. So again, another value, just keep sharing in Slack and in environments like this. And let's keep them in-house if we can.
Yeah, for sure.
I need to make a quick correction to
Yep.
what Scott said. RERM covers them for 1 year after the close of escrow, not throughout their duration, or not throughout their entire owner. 1 year.
Thank you.
That's
From
the way she
the
made it
date
seem.
of
I was
close.
like, oh,
Is that kind of like a home warranty situation? Got to renew every year, or is it just one and done?
It's just, I don't believe they can renew. I'll double check, but it usually covers them because most things come up during that first year. Right, and it means if they've started mediation or something to that effect a week before that anniversary is up, they've initiated before that 1 year is up. So that's all that matters.
Okay. Well, thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have
Alright.
another property from a listing agent that I work with. It's on 1244 West 66th Street. It's a weird design. On paper, it's a duplex, but it looks like a single family. It's weird, but she might want to do an off-market deal. She hasn't gotten any good traction on it. And then I'm gonna do an open house for her this weekend. So
Okay. Okay.
you guys can hit that.
What's the price on that?
$499. I think I had mentioned it to one of Allison's clients. they didn't go for it. So.
All right, 1244 West 66th Street duplex, 499.
Correct.
Yeah.
On paper, it's a duplex, but it's a weird, funky looking one. But if anyone else is out there, struggling, maybe we make the connection. So
Cool. Okay. All right, everybody. Appreciate you. Happy hump
Thanks,
day.
everyone. Have a great week.
Thanks,
All right.
guys.
See you
Bye.
guys.
Bye.